everyone, and welcome to today's General Hospital recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. Huge, like mediocrely big day today on General Hospital, but oh my goodness. So let's get right to it. At the haunted star, Lulu's on the phone with Dante making dinner plans, and then they hang up, and Luke is there and tells her that Tracy was in bed with another man, aka Dillon's father. So then Luke tells Lulu that Jake is alive, little Jake. This is going to be so confusing for the next however long they make us do this. And Lulu tells Luke how Dante tracked her to the hotel room because Leslie called to ask to speak to her and all that, and her alibi wasn't ironclad. And then she tells Luke about Dante's kiss with Valerie and that she's trying to be really rational about it, but it only works about 50% of the time. And then Lulu decides she wants to hear Valerie's side of the story. And Luke fills Lulu in on the whole, even though Tracy knows everything, Tracy still isn't okay with everything. At the police station, Dante is on the phone making the dinner plans with Lulu, and Valerie overhears the phone conversation. So then Dante pulls Valerie into one of the interrogations rooms and asks if they can talk for a second. So she says, I know the only reason you slept with me was because you were under the false impression that Lulu was cheating on you, so can we just forget about it and move on? And he's like, no. And I'm like, why are you saying no, Dante? So basically he's worried that Lulu's going to come after her because now, thanks to Carly, Lulu knows that they kissed, and he keeps apologizing to her. Like, he's like, you know, I did all this because I thought my marriage was over, and it's not over, and blah, 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 and you're being so supportive of me, and, like, don't beat yourself up. You know, too much. And yeah, it's not all what it appears to be, because I'm convinced Valerie's something's gonna happen with her. She's not okay with this. Like, she's just pretending to be okay with this, but she's not okay with this. So she tells him that everything's fine and they can move on, but when he leaves, she says to herself, he wants to be with his wife, get over it. So obviously she's not all the way over it yet, and then Lulu walks in. Dun dun dun. Can't wait to see that conversation. At the Quartermains, Tracy's still mad at Dillon for not telling her why he really left town, but he says that she says that I don't know what I'm saying. She says that she's a lot angrier with Luke. So finally, somebody, aka Dillon, brings up the fact that Dillon just happened to be there when Luke told Lulu, thank goodness, that Dillon told Tracy that Luke didn't intentionally bring him in on it, he just happened to be there when he told Lulu. And I'm like, thank goodness someone finally said it. Because up until now, it's like, oh, Luke trusted Dillon Quartermain. It's like, no, that's not what happened. So then Dillon tells Tracy how much Luke not telling her the truth hurt him, and how badly he wanted to tell her the truth, and he wants her to get over it, so you know, her and Luke can be together. So then Paul makes pancakes. This is where it gets a little bizarre. So Paul Hornsby, aka Dillon's father, makes pancakes, and turns out Dillon doesn't like pancakes, and he's like, and Paul's like, who doesn't like pancakes? And I'm sitting here on the couch being like, well, I don't like pancakes. But apparently there was an incident in a cafe when Dillon was 8, where Dillon ate so many pancakes that he got sick. So there you go. Little information. So Dillon is like really weirded out by Paul and Tracy's domesticness. So when Dillon asks if they're together, and if like not, like where is he staying, and like all that, and Dillon's like, you know, he like asks the question, but then he doesn't really want to know. He just wants to know if they're together or if there's still a door open for Tracy and Luke. So Dillon's trying to talk to Tracy about how much it meant to Luke to have to leave Tracy behind, and Paul keeps trying to interject with like, well, obviously he didn't trust her, obviously this, obviously that. And Dillon's like, you know what, no one's talking to you, okay? So then Dillon straight up scolds Tracy, why can't I not talk today? It's a Monday, isn't it? So then he brings Dante up again. He says how Lulu and Luke had to make a choice, and Tracy needs to get over it because Dante did. So then Paul interjects again and says, well, it's your mother's decision. And Dillon's like, you know what, enjoy your pancakes, and he leaves. And I'm like, you go, Dillon, I love you. So then Dillon tries to leave and sneak past Paul, but Paul calls him back and tells him he wants to get to know him. And Dillon's like, I'm busy today. And then Tracy leaves, and she goes to the haunted star, and Luke is there. So maybe they can make up, I don't know. Or maybe she's going to be like, stop sending my son after me. At the hospital, Elizabeth brings Jake to the hospital to have a checkup with Patrick, and Patrick is right there, and she talks to him, but he doesn't turn around yet, and then he turns around and sees Jake, and he's like, is this who I think it is? So I have to say, I think Elizabeth is striking a really good balance between keeping an eye on Jake and not, like, smothering him. So, you know, a little bit of props to Elizabeth. So she tells Patrick everything, and then Elizabeth asks Patrick if he could do Jake's checkup, and he said he'd be honored. And then Elizabeth talks about how little Jake is so drawn to bring Jake, and, you know, it's so good. And Patrick's like, well, it's good that they have each other. And I'm like, you have no idea. So Patrick and Elizabeth go in the hallway to talk about Jake's results, and Patrick says he looks perfectly healthy. There's no lasting damage from the accident. Oh, by the way, there's no scar from a kidney transplant, so someone's going to have to get answers to Carly. And then Patrick brings up Sam, and if she's told Sam yet, and Elizabeth's like, no, like, all this literally just happened. I haven't had time. So then he's like, well, Danny and Jake are brothers, and Sam's going to want them to have a relationship. Is that okay with you? And Elizabeth's like, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I'm thinking she would, because that's going to, like, just bring the families closer, and then Jake's going to realize who he is, and then he's going to go back to Sam, and, oh, right? So at Sunny's, Jake visits Jake visits Carly to tell her that little Jake is alive. And then Jake tells Carly little Jake's alive. Carly's really happy, but at the same time she's upset that Jason isn't around to know his son's alive. And then it finally dawned on Carly that if Jocelyn didn't get the kidney from Jake, then who did she get the kidney from? And then Carly starts to freak out, with legitimate reasons, because she wants to know whose kidney's in her daughter, and if maybe Helena messed with it, and now Jocelyn's health is at risk down the line. And I think that's a great point to bring up. So then Jason sort of talked her down and says, before we get ahead of ourselves, why don't we go to the hospital to get some answers? So Jake tells Carly that Elizabeth and little Jake are already at the hospital now, so now's probably a good time to bring Jocelyn in. So Jake sees the ring on, Jason, I should start calling, you know what, from now on, Jake is Jason, because we can't have two Jakes, it's too confusing. So Jason sees the ring on her finger, and she's like, oh yeah, me and Sonny got engaged yesterday, and I know you and him aren't friends, but you and I are friends, and he respects that. And Jason's like, I get it. And Jason is going to the hospital with Carly and Jocelyn for moral support. And then when they're at the hospital, Jason talks to Patrick at the hospital and asks if Elizabeth is still there. And he says no, she went to Windermere to see if she could catch up with Lucky. And Jason seems kind of displeased with that, but I'm not sure. He just has one of those faces. You can't really tell what he's thinking. At Windermere, Laura gets to Windermere, and apparently her and Nicholas are going to have breakfast, and she asks if Lucky's going to join them, and Nicholas tells her that Lucky left, and Laura's like, I wish Lucky could have stayed in Port Charles longer, and I'm like, me too, and I wish he could have done something a little more productive with his time. I mean, yeah, he brought Jake back from the dead, but he could have done something else, you know? So then Laura brings up Nicholas taking over ELQ, and he gets really defensive, and he's like, you know, it's just business. And she's like, I know, you're a grown man, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. And he's like, thank you. And I'm like, Nicholas, do you not understand that it's not so much that you took over ELQ that people have, I mean, yeah, people have a problem with that, but it's the way you took over ELQ, like, that's what people have the big issue with, like, do you not understand that? So then Laura and Nicholas briefly talk about Lulu and Tracy, and Laura says, Luke and Tracy? They talk about Luke and Tracy, and Laura says that she hopes Luke and Tracy work it out because she really would like for the two of them to be happy, and Nicholas asks if she has anyone special in her life. Laura says she's had a couple of dates while she was living in Paris, but she's still looking for someone to grow old with. And then Laura asked to live with Nicholas at Windermere. Big plot point there. Had to take that one sub. So Nicholas tells her that of course she can stay with him. So then Elizabeth and Jake, little Jake, arrive at Windermere, and Laura brings Jake into the kitchen to get cookies, and Nicholas and Elizabeth are having a conversation, and Nicholas says to Elizabeth, oh, I told Lucky that Jake is Jason. And, you know, Elizabeth doesn't seem pleased with this, but the more notable part is that Laura overheard him say that. So now Laura knows that Jake is Jason, and seriously, how many people get to know about something and it still be considered a secret? Because now it's Nicholas, Elizabeth, Lucky, Helena obviously knows, and now Laura, like, That's 5 people. I think we're starting to get into someone's going to spill the secret territory. And the Jason reveal, maybe it'll happen for November sweeps or tomorrow. It will happen tomorrow. But seriously, we have to get a deadline here because we've been going on this for, what, a year now? So, there you go. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. It would mean so much. And also, we are running an Indiegogo campaign. If you could check out the link, we're over the halfway mark, which is so cool. So if you could check out the link, it would mean so much to me. And if you can't donate, if you could share it on your social media, it would mean a lot. I will see you tomorrow for more Drama Hospital. I hope you have... Oh, wait, no, I won't see you tomorrow for more Drama Hospital. I'm not going to be here. So I will see you Wednesday for more Drama Hospital. I hope you have a great day. Bye.